Hi guys, are you tired of spending your money time and time again on overcomplicated carp baits? What colours, what flavours? In today's video, I'm going to go over my top 10 supermarket baits that can catch a carp, and also the best thing, catch a carp on a budget. Right, let's begin. Right guys, so number one is bread. Now, bread, it's one of the cheapest and most effective baits out there. It's incredibly versatile. You can use it for surface fishing for carp. You can blend it and use it for ground bait. You can use a bait punch and use it for roach fishing. Yeah, incredibly versatile, as I say. I used to go sea fishing for mullet, and obviously mullet will take the crusts off the top, so that even catfish will take crusts of bread as well. So you've got a multitude of species that will go for bread. As I say, it's very cheap. You don't have to go for the best make of bread, but I would suggest go for a thick white bread because that's your best one for hooking. I wouldn't go for brown or wholemeal. So yeah, bread, that's my number one pick. Right, on to the next. Also guys, I will be going over my top ways to use these baits, and also stay tuned in this video because I will be chucking in some wild card additives to these baits. So make sure you watch this video all the way through. Right, let's get into it. And going back to one of my old school favourites that I used to use a lot when I first started carp fishing at the age of 11, and that is pork luncheon meat. Now, luncheon meat, it's oily, it's flavourful, it's soft, and basically it's packed with protein, so it's hardly surprising. Loads of species love it, like carp, like tench, like chub, like barbel. That's just to name a few. There's multiple ways of fishing it. You can have small cubes of luncheon meat if you're fishing it just on the hook. You can do bigger cubes if you're hair rigging it. You can basically liquidize it and have it as like a ground bait mix. Yeah, you can add flavors to it as well. It's got a multitude of ways to fish it as well, but yeah, another timeless classic which I love to fish. And for the next one, that sort of ties in with luncheon meat as well, but has its own rightful space, is pepperami, especially the hot pepperami. Now, if you don't need to use massive cubes of luncheon meat, there's no other better bait than using hot pepperami. It's a lot harder, so fish will find it a lot harder to take it off the bait. In actual fact, they probably won't be able to take it off the hair or the hook. However you want to fish it. I normally fish it on the hair, but what you can do with this also is have a couple of slithers of this, put it in a mesh bag, and then have your hair rigged section, probably only about 10 to 15 mil. You don't need a massive cube of it, but that will attract carp, chub, barbel. I know catfish will take this as well. Perch will take it. But yeah, another go-to bait and another cheap bait as well. One of them will last you a session. But what I normally find is on heavily stocked and pressured waters where a lot of carp are spooked off boilies, this can give you that extra edge. So I'd always take this if I think it could be a tricky venue or it is fishing hard, just to give me that extra edge. So yeah, pepperami. Up next, it's chickpeas. Now, this is another bait I think is very underrated. Bonus things with this, it's high in protein and fat, which carp love. Also, look at them. They're natural looking. Basically, they're like mini boilies, but on a very cheap scale. Also, with these, how I'd go about with fishing them, you can either hair rig them or have them straight on the hook. What I'd probably suggest, similar to sweet corn, is maybe have a fake chickpea and maybe a couple of real chickpeas as well, especially if you're fishing a crayfish water. Also with these, you can add flavourings or any kind of additives, chili flakes, anything like that to them as well to boost them up. But yeah, chickpeas, a very underestimated bait, and it catches loads of carp. So for my next pick will be the humble cheese. Now, this is an absolutely amazing bait. It's strong smell and texture. It's been a go-to bait really for years now. It catches absolutely a multitude of species from carp. You've got chub, you've got barbel, bream, tench. You've got loads of fish that'll take cheese. Now, how I would present it. Now, you've got a few options. Now, you can use a hook and have it directly on the hook, or you can do small cubes of it, probably an inch by an inch, something like that, and hair rig it as well for the carp. So you've got a few options there, but it's been a go-to bait for years, and it will continue being a go-to bait. And a block will last you a long time. So yeah, there's my next choice. Right, on to the next. And now going back to another ageless classic, and that is sweet corn. Now, sweet corn, it's bright, it's sweet, and basically it's an irresistible go-to fishing bait for multiple species, not just carp, for tench, for bream, chub, roach, loads of fish will take this. But you can normally get it, as I say, in the tins, or you can get normally kilogram bags are frozen. I would suggest though, if you are getting the frozen bags, is get a tub, put your bait in the night before, put some water in, let it soak in, and if you're going to add any additives or liquids or anything like that, put it in so it can all soak into it. Basically, it'll make your frozen corn like the tin corn, so it's softer, more digestible for the carp or the other fish as well. But yeah, it's a classic bait. I've had multiple PBs off it in the past, and the way I'd fish it, well, you've got multiple options again. You can fish it on the hook, whether you're float fishing or ledger fishing with it, or you can fish it on the hair. You can fish it in combination with a couple of grains of real and a bit of fake corn, or you can just use fake corn and use this as basically like ground bait around it. That's how I normally use it, because a lot of waters ago they might have a lot of nuisance fish, so sometimes they will peck the corn off the hook or off the hair. So sometimes I'll use fake corn and then use this as basically freebies around it. But yeah, that's the next one. And on to the next is tuna. Now, tuna is very smelly. It's perfect for spod mixes or for ground bait. It's basically very oily and it attracts carps for miles. As I say, though, it's not a hook bait. It is only really an additive to a spod mix or to ground bait. It is one of the more expensive items out of the supermarket baits, but a tin of this will last you a session. But what I would suggest is go for the one in spring water, not sunflower oil. Yeah, spring water one's best. But yeah, next one is tuna chunks. Up next, it's nuts. Now, long before boilies and pellets, particles reigned supreme, and on the forefront of that was nuts. In this case, mostly peanuts or Brazil nuts. Carp basically absolutely love them. They're packed full of oils and nutrition, which the carp go crazy for. Just remember, though, to properly prepare them before using. Normally, I'd soak them for 24 hours and then cook them for 40 minutes. Now, you can just use them just as a hook baits, but again, I would soak them as well if you are just using them for single hook baits, because you don't want the carp to be swallowing them and the bellies can swell. So I would suggest, and most importantly, to properly prepare these, soak them 24 hours, cook them for 40 minutes, no issues there. But again, It's an ageless classic, nuts. It's been around for years and years and years, and it'll still catch carp to this day, as well as a few other species. But yeah, nuts, peanuts, and it's normally peanuts and Brazil nuts, but here at Morrison's, they do like a mixed nut selection. What we got? We got almonds, cashews, walnuts, Brazil nuts, and hazelnuts. So a bit of everything. So for preparing them, again, it can be just as simple with a small boiling needle to hair rig them. You can also put them directly on the hook if you want. You've got a few options. You can also tie in a bit of fake corn and have them critically balanced if you want. Yeah, there's a few options there. But if you're going to use it as loose feed as well, definitely soak them, cook them for 40 minutes after soaking them for 24 hours. And then, yeah, there'll be no issues. But yeah, that's nuts. Right, on to the next. Up next, it's prawns. Now, this is a classic seafood offering that can grab bites when other baits are failing. Now, it's most commonly used during the winter for perch fishing. However, it can grab a whole range of other species from carp, chub, bream, eels, just to name a few. Now, there's quite a few different ways of fishing with prawns on the hook, hair rigging, some little additives that I like to use for this. So I'll quickly go over now how I use it. Right guys, so how to hook a prawn. Cut a prawn in half, discarding the thickest end, basically using that for loose feed. Then place the point of the hook through the thin end of the prawn, then turn the hook to run the shank of the hook through the prawn, like so. And how to hair rig a prawn. Basically what you need is a quick stop needle, and what you're going to need to do is put a quick stop through the prawn, basically turning it so it's locking it in place. That way it's going to have the whole hook exposed, perfect, ready for that big perch or carp or bream or chub or eel. Also, very nearly forgot, a little top tip, especially for winter perch fishing. Always add supermarket spices such as cumin or paprika to your prawns. This gives it a massive boost and can bring them perch in as well as carp as well. So yeah, take that in mind. Right guys, up next, it's garden peas. Now, I personally think this is a very underrated and forgotten bait. It's small, it's sweet. Carp love eating algae, so this blends in with the lake bed or the pond that you fish in. They won't be spooked off it. Now, a couple of things I would suggest with it. If you're going to use it as singles on the hook, for example, like a smaller hook, like a size 8 or a size 10, you might want to use a bit of super glue with it, just so it stays on the hook. It's not going to come off. Also, this blends perfectly for either a spod or a particle mix as well. So yeah, that's garden peas. Again, I think a very underrated bait. It's cheap. You can buy it in the tins or you can buy frozen bags of it. Perfect bait. And in this part in the video, I thought I'd do some additives, powders, sauces that go well with all of these kind of baits that we've gone over today. Firstly, let's go over the carp additives. Now, everyone probably knows chili flakes or chili powder is a perfect additive to carp baits, whether it's adding it to sweet corn, adding it to luncheon meat, even going back to your boilies and your pellets. Chili, you can't go wrong. That in mind also, garlic, whether it be garlic granules, garlic powder, another fantastic one for carp. Right, another one that unfortunately I haven't got on me is actually turmeric or 5 spices. Now this is sometimes good for roach. I'll try to put a picture up of obviously turmeric or 5 spices because again, unfortunately I haven't got any of them on me. But going on to the next one is cinnamon. This is really, really good for bream, for skimmers, things like that. Really good additive for them as well. And to get into the sauces, now everyone knows, again, we've gone over the chili flakes, but extra hot chili sauce or chili sauce in general, perfect particles, spod, boilie, sweet corn, luncheon meat, additive, all round awesome. That as well, sriracha sauce, another fantastic additive. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have used any of these baits, additives, drop a comment below. If you think I've missed any big standout bait from the supermarket, I know personally I probably could have done a top 20. So I know there's some people might say this is possibly bigger than this, or again, drop a comment below. If you like these kind of videos, I do enjoy them. Give me more suggestions, drop a comment. If you haven't already, if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next video, guys.